Good day, good afternoon, good evening, from whatever time you're watching this video. The day is the 12th of October 2025. My name is Ian Corbin, and you are here with another edition of Nation Watch. I would like to take the time to welcome our loyal viewers and supporters, and those of you that probably are just passing by. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. Firstly, I would like to apologize for my absence last week. I was in Trinidad chasing my dreams and following a passion that was near and dear to my heart. And I am happy to share that with you guys today. More importantly, I would like to take some time before we get into our discussions, which I'm sure a lot of you are anxious to hear and to be a part of. So, firstly, wish you all a World Mental Health Day, which was celebrated on the 10th of October. I believe that was on Friday. And we all know that to live in Guyana, you require a very, very good mental health structure for all of the things that we have to endure as Guyanese living in Guyana. More importantly, last week they had a lot of things that would happen. Most importantly to me was the commissioning of a new Demerara Bridge. The bridge has been called the Barrett Jagdeo Demerara Bridge, and its aim and intention is to be able to properly fill that gap in relation to transportation and our marine industry in relation to Region 4 and Region 2 and the other regions that are connected therefore. We think that it was a great initiative, and we must remind our viewers, our supporters, and the persons tuned into this program that the conceptual idea of what we see today was a brainchild under the APNU government in our last administration. And while we would like to celebrate this achievement in our infrastructure, we are still yet to really see this bridge fully take off and achieve the goals that it was intended to set. Is it a case where it is just something that is being put up there as a show, or does it actually add economic and value consideration to our country and our various industries? Now, I will not go into that. I'm not an expert on infrastructure nor engineering, but as a normal road user, we can see that as much as the bridge may achieve some goals, it still leaves much to be desired. And we see that with the constant backup on the Heroes Highway, especially during peak hours. So while we think, or while the government may want to make us feel that this bridge is a cutting edge and it is doing a lot, we, the persons who have to navigate those roads on a daily basis, know that it is really just pushing the traffic from one point to another point. And we really do hope that the government will take note of this and do what is required to ensure that the citizens don't just have the access, but the convenience to accompany the access. Because access without convenience just puts us back at where we've been at all times prior. Furthermore, we would like to take time to give recognition and honor our founding leader, Mr. Lyndon Forbes Burnham, Senior Counsel and recipient of the Order of Excellence, who would have firstly piloted what we see today as the Demerara Harbor Bridge, where it would have been the first of its kind, and I think the first in the region of a wide harbor bridge. And in aim to improve on that, we see that the government has attempted, and note I say attempted, to really try to rewrite history. But those of us who know what occurred. While I may not have been alive at the time, I bear it on good information that what they did during the commissioning of the bridge was basically a mirror copy of what Forbes Burnham would have done upon the opening and commissioning of the Demerara Harbor Bridge. And while we are excited for the infrastructural development because it will contribute to Guyana, we are still worried about what the government intends to do with all of that metal that still remains a significant structure between Regions 4 and Regions 3. In October, we also celebrate Pinktober, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we in the APNU and the PNCR would like to extend our kind regards and our unending support for all of the persons who have been affected, whether directly or indirectly, by breast cancer. And we stand in solidarity with all of the persons who would have passed, and we extend our yielding, support to those individuals. More importantly, and shifting gears, we note, as I would have said earlier, with the new bridge, there are still some infrastructural gaps within our country. Yesterday, and I must make mention of it, there was an extremely terrible traffic situation on the Tamari Road on to the airport, which was so bad it required several persons who had flights to catch at the Chedijagan International Airport to come out of their vehicles and to walk up the road. Yes, folks, you've heard it. They had to come out of their vehicles and walk on the road in an attempt to catch their flight because the traffic was so bad. Probably the government is going to put another roundabout to fix this issue. We hope not, and we hope that the government is taking note of these things, that the citizens don't just deserve access, but they also deserve convenience. Now that we've covered the more lighter topics, there is one particular topic which I'm sure is on everybody's mind, and it has been trending ever since Friday. And I'm sure by now you are aware exactly what we are talking about, which is the Regional Democratic Council. Firstly, let me extend our heartfelt congratulations from the PNCR and the APNU party to all of our councillors and members who have ascended to the Regional Democratic Council. And we know and we are very, very confident that they will execute their duties to the best of their abilities. And starting off with much steam, as the youths would say, we were on the heels of a rigorous battle for the positions of chairman and vice chairman in the respective regional democratic councils. And today, joined with me is no stranger to Nation Watch, no stranger to you viewers at home, and no stranger to the political scene, is none other than Mr. Ganesh Mahipaul, who will help us dissect what really happened. We've seen a lot of allegations being put, we've heard a lot of things about who's in bed with who. And today on Nation Watch, we are going to set the record straight. And I think there is no better person than Mr. Ganesh Mahipal, who will be sitting in the next parliament once it has been convened. And I think he is a very, very critical person in this particular discussion. Because for those of you who may not know, Mr. Mahipal in the last parliament would have functioned as the shadow minister of local government and regional development. And on that basis, we welcome you, Mr. Ganesh Mahipal, to Nation Watch once more.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eden. Good afternoon to you and your viewers, and wherever people are around the world and whichever time zone, I say good day. Let me first of all congratulate you on becoming a lawyer, being accepted to the bar. And if I say anything incriminating, I know I have you on speed dial, so I need not worry there. I also want to say to the commuters that the Demerara River Bridge, the new Demerara River Bridge, is indeed welcoming. And I heard you saying that it was an idea conceptualized by the last APNU AFC administration. But I will go as far back as saying that when the Demerara Harbor Bridge was built, that floating structure, it had a lifespan, and it outlived that lifespan and functioned for close to 48 years, which was nowhere close to what it was intended to function. So, since then, one can decipher that it was always intended on the part of the government at that time to see a more permanent structure over the Demerara River. So, It happened to have come into being after we began to gain revenue from the oil. I think it's 260 million US dollars that constructed it will be paid back by people who pay taxes. I pay taxes, you pay taxes. I'm not sure if the president pays taxes. I'm not sure if Barajaglia pays taxes. And I know for sure that Anil Nandalal doesn't pay taxes. In fact, I should say that Barajaglia doesn't either because he collects his pension and not the vice presidential salary. So the taxpayers of our country are really the real owners of that bridge. And I think it was necessary. It is assisting with the easing of the burden that people face. And just like in 1978, when the Demerara Harbor Bridge came into being, and it was a welcomed initiative, similarly, this is a welcomed initiative. But of course, we know that Guyana is growing and more people will get vehicles, more people will purchase their own mode of transportation. And a time will come when we will need to see perhaps another bridge, perhaps adding a lane or two more on this existing bridge. So everything is good in its time. In 1978, the Harbor Bridge was good. It served its purpose. It really went beyond its life expectation. It can still function where it is. Now we have the other one, the New Demerara River Bridge, and that will serve its purpose. And as time goes by, maybe we will not be around to see, but perhaps another bridge will have to go over the Demerara River. The Berbice River Bridge is there, serving its purpose. We may need another one also. But somehow we got to start thinking about bridging the Essequibo River too.
Correct.
Because the people of Region 2, the people of Region 3, they need to also have better access over the Essequibo River. But you know, there's also another side of the story. When you had the old Demerara River Bridge, the Demerara Harbor Bridge, there were businesses around the area that were flourishing. You know, you have M&M Snacket over on the eastern side, and the western side you also had some businesses there. You had the small chip sellers, those guys that would sell the plantain chip, chicken foot, and what's not. So the new bridge really had an effect on them too, and I'm sure that I hope that they're considered, because in my view, you try your best to cushion and to try your best to address the negatives of this big positive. And people also have to be considered in all of that. So I trust that they are being considered, but we welcome it and it's good to go.
And it's very interesting you talk about the bridge, because we would like to bridge something as well today. And we would like to bridge the gap of the absence of understanding and knowledge in relation to the Regional Democratic Council. We have seen a lot of wild and I would say very preemptive statements in relation to what has transpired last Friday concerning the appointment of councillors and then the subsequent elections in relation to the voting in of the chairman and the vice chairman of the respective RDC. So before we get into the more meticulous points, explain to our viewers, Mr. Mahipaul, how rather explain to the viewers firstly, what is the function of the RDC?
All right. So my next point was heading in that direction. I think I need to throw out a couple of things to settle the dust, because there seems to be some wild accusations, some accusations that carry no evidence, and it's strictly anecdotal and for personal gains from respective people who assert themselves as politicians in today's society. It is quite clear that the We Invest in Nationhood political party has one agenda, and that is to destroy the PNC and the PNCR. We will not tolerate that. Their foolish display last night on that program that they had, and subsequent to that, you saw several commentary on social media. Their actions on Friday is clearly geared towards attacking the People's National Congress reform. And that is what the electorate must see and understand. There was no agreement, none whatsoever, with the People's Progressive Party. That's a total lie. I want to put that on record. Absolutely no agreement with the People's Progressive Party. In the APNU, there is a 5-member committee. I've always made reference to the 5-member committee. When Odessa Primus reached out to Mr. Aubrey Norton, it wasn't excluding the 4 other members. It wasn't excluding myself. I knew of it. Terence Campbell knew of it. Others knew about it. Before she came into the picture, discussions had already begun, and she seemed to not want to accept that.
But before,
Everything was not centered on her.
no, wait. I want you
No,
to
I'm coming. I'm coming to the
No.
to the importance of regional elections and RDCs.
No, but you see, I know you're coming from a position of information and context, and some of the viewers may not have that particular information. So I want us to head to there eventually. So I don't want us to start off early. So we're gonna get to there, but I want the viewers to understand what is really at stake here. And before we even get into that, I want, from your point of view and your experience in dealing with this particular ministry and with your parliamentary experience, just explain to us, what do you see, or what is your view of the role that the Regional Democratic Council plays? Because it's something we're fighting for. So what is that role that the RDC plays?
All right. So let me say to you that when you vote in a national and regional elections, you're voting really in 2 elections. You're voting for your RDC councillors and your members of parliament. Your RDC councillors are like your members of parliament in your region. So in each region, they are allotted amounts of seats to be on the RDC. Region 4, for example, is 35. Region 10 is 18. Region 8 is 15. So based on the population, the geography, and a set of other criteria, that's how those numbers were arrived at. And when you put your X there, you're putting your X for representation based on the list that was presented. And each list was presented with the quota plus 10. So like Region 4 was, Region 4 is 35 seats. The list that APNU presented was 35 plus 10, 45. PPP presented 45, WIN presented 45 names. And when the elections are over and the seats are won, the parties do the extraction and place people there to represent the interest of the party based on the manifesto that they would have outlined to the population. So, for example, in Region 4, the 9 persons that we have extracted to serve on the RDC are expected to represent the APNU's position. They are expected to represent the people of the region, and it's not only isolated to the voters that voted for you, but you are also expected to represent the region in totality. So, and you go monthly to a meeting of the RDC where you stand and you make that representation, where there is a chairman of the council, a vice chairman of the council, an REO of the council, a clerk of the council. The council is really the governing body of the region, but they don't govern in isolation. They govern in keeping with the mandate that was given to them by central government. And that's something people need to understand. So a chairman and a regional chairman, they cannot act outside of or the council of itself cannot act outside of the governing direction of the central government. But they can oppose, they can question, and they can make positions or have positions that is really geared towards championing the people's interest. The chairman and the vice chairman don't run the region, as I hear some people using this word run,
Mm-hmm.
and it's used so loosely, like if you are not the chairman or you're not the vice chairman, then you don't have no power in the region. Absolute wrong.
So tell
The
us.
regional
Mhm.
executive officer is the financial authority in the region. The regional executive officer is the chairman of the tender board in the region. The regional executive officer is the clerk of the council in the region. And the council is guided by the regional executive officer, who is a creature of government,
Central
but it
government.
should not have been like that.
Correct.
What we should have been fighting for is to ensure that the clerk of council
Is
be
of the
a
council.
creature of the
Council.
council.
Correct.
Because in the local democratic organs, which the RDC falls under, the officers that are below should come with the confidence of the council. And anybody who functioned in the last 5 years in these respective RDCs, they would know and they would have seen the reaction of some of these REOs to chairpersons that are aligned or were aligned to opposition parties. We remember how that very Donald Gadraj treated Daniel Siram, grabbing the mic out of
Yeah,
his
yeah,
hand and
yeah.
so on, showing his authority, asserting himself,
Mhm.
and Daniel was the regional chairman. Of course, now he is there with them. But the point I'm making is that being a chairman and being a vice chairman does not mean that you have control, or not being those does not mean that you don't have control. You still have a mandate, you still have a duty, and you still have a responsibility to the people in the region to represent their cause at the RDC meeting.
So
That is what is fundamental and important.
yeah, and you spoke about the structure just now about of the RDC, and I know you were a member of the Constitutional Reform Committee. Would you be able to say if that was something that is currently being considered on the committee, or it was something that they intend to look at in relation to the restructuring to ensure that the RDC gains more autonomy as a regional body?
Well, the Constitutional Reform Commission has terms of references, terms of reference, whichever one is correct. But what they are supposed to do is examine the Constitution, see where things worked, see where things didn't work, and hold consultations to make changes. That is one that we will be championing from our end, that the authority
Mhm.
of the region must be vested fully in that of the council, where they will appoint the accounting officers of the respective councils, and the accounting officers will have to give account for the monies that will be allocated to them. So we will be looking at that angle
Mhm.
of ensuring that the representation is made for us to have that kind of change, because we have recognized the issue is that when central government imposes their people onto the council, it actually disturbs the real functions
Mhm.
of the elected officials in the RDCs.
Excellent. And moving forward, heading into the appointment and then the subsequent election of the chairman and the vice chair in the respective RDCs, what was the objective of the APNU and our councillors moving into or heading towards that? You know, we did not have outright majority, so it could not have been a case where we know if all of our councillors voted, we would get a particular position. So, what was the aim of the party heading into those processes?
Well, any party, whether it is us, the APNU, the PPP, WIN, or whoever, FGM, or whoever, their obvious aim is to ensure that they are being placed in a position to represent and have the necessary resources to do what they have to do. So any political party, their aim is to ensure that they're present to get maximum representation
Mhm.
for their people,
Mhm.
first and foremost, followed by everyone, because developing a nation requires representing its people.
Correct.
I must say that in terms of the election, and you spoke earlier about there being secret ballot and open ballot, the laws are clear. The laws are very clear. Once the councillors are sworn in and they take the oath of office, they officially become councillors of that meeting. But because there is no chairman or vice chairman, the clerk of council holds the authority to determine any question, but he does not have a vote in making that determination. So, what transpired at Region 4, for example, is sad. What transpired at Region 4 was really, really sad because the REO, based on what I saw, who is the clerk of council, imposed himself and held a position without putting it to a determination. When the law gave the REO the authority to determine and went on to say, but you don't have a vote, it simply means that the authority you have is to put that question to the council that was already sworn in.
Mhm.
And when you put the question to the council that was already sworn in, the majority will determine and you will have to act with that authority. It could never be that you singularly could decide whether it is secret ballot or open ballot.
Mm.
And that was the first breakdown of the rule in those
And I
elections in
mean that
Region
that's
4. And you
indicative.
know what is even sadder?
Yeah,
The fact that the Attorney General and Minister of Legal
he
Affairs
was present.
sat there and saw something like that. But it was already fixed in their mind the direction that they were going, the People's Progressive Party.
Mhm.
And it is ludicrous for anybody to conclude that there was some arrangement with the PNC and PPP. It was ludicrous on that end, because if such was the case, then we would have been sitting probably as vice chairman. We would have had the vice chairmanship of the region. We don't. And we don't have the chairman nor the vice chairman because Win decided that they are going to not participate. So
And
that is why we are in the predicament we find ourselves in. And to try to paint it in all sorts of language does not take away from the fact that you withdrew your participation. You're trying to justify why you withdrew.
mhm.
But the fact of the matter remains that we don't have the chairmanship nor the vice chairmanship, that is the opposition parties, because of what transpired all along the line there.
So is it a case where we didn't have the numbers as an opposition on those
Opposition
RDC?
together, there was the number in Region 4.
Mm.
Opposition together, there was the number
And
in
that
Region
would be the
4.
collective
But it
opposition.
comes back to all that is being discussed in the public space.
Mm.
Was there an agreement? Was there discussion? Was there any form of movement towards ensuring that this thing goes smoothly? Again, I say to you and I say to the viewing public, there was no agreement reached with the We Invest in Nationhood Party, and there was absolutely no attempt to speak or no attempt to engage with the People's Progressive Party. None. I am going to break down for you what transpired in the three contentious regions.
Yes,
And I
please.
use the word contentious because that's how I saw it.
Yeah.
And as I said, when Odessa Primus reached out to the leader of the opposition, to the leader of the PNCR, Mr. Aubrey Norton, discussions were happening before her attempt. But she may seem to not have known that, because I listened to her last night and I heard her saying that she first made moves and so on. Several discussions were happening before that happened. But I want to say to you that when the discussions happened, it was with one for Region 4. The APNU will have the chairman, and this is discussion with Win. The APNU will have the chairman. The We Invest in Nationhood will have the vice chairman, and Forward Guyana Movement will have chairman of the Public Works Committee. That was for Region 4.
Mhm.
Then we went to Region 8, where We Invest in Nationhood will have the chairman, APNU will have the vice chairman. And then we went to Region 10. We said that We Invest in Nationhood will have the chairman, and APNU will have the vice chairman. That was our position.
But hold on. Before we rush, right? Let's get a breakdown of these numbers because we need to understand how we are arriving at the determination that okay, it is very possible prior to the actual vote that the chair could be held by one out of the two parties. So let's have a breakdown, if you could, of the
Okay.
numbers.
In the 35 for Region 4, the quota or the total number of councillors in Region 4 is 35.
Mhm.
Of that 35, 17 is People's Progressive Party. And from the opposition side, the APNU had 9 or has 9. We Invest in Nationhood has 8. And Forward Guyana Movement has 1. Right? So the 8, the 9, and the 1, 8 and 8, 16 and 1, 17 and 1, 18 will give you 18. So the 18 in the opposition in Region 4 is expected to trump the 17
Correct.
that the PPP has in Region 4.
So you're saying then it was virtually possible for the APNU to have the chairman and Win to have the
The
vice
vice
chair
chairman, yes.
once there was a
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're claiming, Win is claiming that they withdrew all their votes, but it was secret ballot, as I said.
Correct.
And not because you see 8 blank ballots or
Correct.
2 spoil or 3 spoil, and then you see PPP getting 18.
Correct.
Means that there's someone from us that went over to the PPP. Could very well be someone from Win that went over too, and
Correct.
someone.
And to stress that the fact that it is a secret ballot, we will never know.
Yeah, secret ballot. That's
exactly.
the bad about secret ballot
We could
in
never know
the instance that you would never know, and you
who
only could
voted.
speculate
Correct.
who did what. You could only speculate. But that was Region 4 numbers.
Correct.
Region 8 numbers, 15 is the total councillors. The PPP has 7, Win has 7, and APNU has 1. And that 1 became the power 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because 7 and 7 is a tie, the 1
Swing
will
vote.
break the tie.
Correct.
And in Region 10, the numbers are 9. The total is 18. And in the 18, 9 is Win, 5 APNU, 3 PPP, and 1 Forward Guyana. So that's how you get a 9 and 9.
So in summary, we're seeing that in all three of these contentious regions, we had the capacity and the ability to achieve chairmanship and vice chairmanship as opposition
Once
parties.
there was a collaboration and cooperation within the opposition parties.
Mhm.
The words here is collaboration, cooperation, or coalition, whichever one you want to use. Had there been that, we could have, as an opposition, walked away with chairman and vice chairman in Region 4, chairman and vice chairman in Region 8, and chairman and vice chairman in Region 10. We could have done that. But We Invest in Nationhood, the Win Party, wanted nothing to do with us in Region 10. They wanted absolutely nothing to do with us in Region 10. When we were asking them for the vice chairman, we will give you the chairman, we will support you for the chairman, we will endorse you for the chairman. All we're asking for in this negotiation, all we're asking for in this collaboration, all we're asking for in this dialogue is for us to have the vice chairman of Region 10. And they said no.
And is it uncommon for opposition parties to pursue a common
No, it is not. No, it is not.
Okay.
And Forward Guyana supported the notion of us having the vice chairman. But you know, what people don't know also is that on the ground, Mark Gorin was not the favored candidate even within the We Invest in Nationhood councillors. There were councillors in We Invest in Nationhood that were not prepared to support Mark Gorin. And not because they have 9 as their vote means that it is 9 win councillors that voted for him. As I said to you, it was secret ballot. And clearly a lot of politics with politics played its way there.
But
We never endorsed, supported, or sought guidance or refuge or support from People's Progressive Party. Never. Because they did not want to engage us in Region 10, our position was, well, we will nominate our own candidate. And why did we come to nominate our own candidate? The question is, why did we, with 5 votes, 5 councillors, decide to say, let's nominate our own candidate in Region 10? It is because people from We Invest in Nationhood was not comfortable with the choice that they were making for their chairman.
But before we press ahead, I see something that has been circulating currently in relation to when a secret ballot is taken or when it is a show of hands. Could you clarify for us or explain rather what is the rationale between a show of hands vote and a secret ballot, or when would a secret ballot be permissible?
Anyone, the secret ballot or the show of hand, anyone is accepted once it is supported and endorsed by the council. The council has to decide which way they want to go and vote.
No, because I saw some statements and I've heard some persons talking about the law and the constitution and how you
have a secret as I said to you just now, like what happened in Region 4 is that the clerk of council, who has the authority to decide on any question but doesn't hold a vote, he has to put that to the council. The council has to decide whether they want to go by show of hands or whether they want to go by secret ballot. It doesn't matter which one is used, but it ought to be put and endorsed. That is what was the flaw in what happened in Region 4 as far as I'm concerned. I am guided that in Region 10 it was put and accepted, the secret ballot. I'm also guided that it happened in other regions, put and accepted. So if people went into the elections not knowing the rule of the game, ignorance is no excuse, right? But I come back to make the point that we did not stupidly go and put our candidate up in Region 10. It was people from the We Invest in Nationhood party that signaled their non-support for Mark Gorin and their willingness to support our candidate. Now, we know that there were about 3 people in the We Invest in Nationhood councillors in Region 10 that were prepared to support Dominic Blair. So we know with our 5, their 3, and Forward Guyana, that will give us the 9. So it could very well be, because it's secret ballot, as I said, that the 3 PPP people voted really for win and give them their 9, because there were 3, at least 3 that we know of from win that did not endorse, support, nor want Mark Gorin as their chairman in Region 9. So when Mark Gorin was speaking with this pomp that he knows he's going to get it and what's not, and mind you, there's no recall legislation at RDC. So if there's anybody that cooperated with and I'm going to come to Region 8 just now, but let me make this one very clear. If there's any party that really cooperated with the PPP based on the deduction and assessment, it is the We Invest in Nationhood.
So
because it's their removal from Region 4 and possible their vote in Region 10 that has it now at 9 and 9.
So it won't be a stretch to say that the allegation that the PNCR is collated with the PPP would be a form of damage control for them, for internal rift within We Invest in Nationhood.
And let me tell you, let me come to Region 8. Let me make it very clear for Region 8. And we have the evidence. In Region 8, they were not prepared to give us the vice chair as they claim. On the very day in question, our 1 vote that we had to give them the 8 votes they were talking amongst themselves, as was reported to us by our counselor, that they were not prepared to give us the vice chair. They were prepared to take the chair and vice chair. And that is why, on the spot, our counselor went and did what she did, voted with the PPP to get the vice chair. And it isn't something that the party had a pronouncement on, because the party learned of this after it unfolded, and it was an on the spot move that was necessary in the interest of her getting that office and being a part to represent in terms of getting the necessary resources.
Because that was the goal in Region 8 at all times, to ensure
so for us to get the vice chair, for us to get the vice chair.
So the vote along with the PPP was not necessarily a vote for the PPP, but it was rather a vote to secure what we intended to receive in this region.
And it was not something endorsed by the People's National Congress reform. It wasn't to say that, you know what, we knew this was going to happen, or we played that. No, nothing of the sort. It was an on-the-spot move that was made at the point of it happening, because there and then we are guided that Win was not prepared to give us the vice chair. And we had to treat Win with a pinch of salt, because we saw how Anog was treated by Win. We saw what Mark the Dr. France guy, was saying that Win did to him. We saw how he said that he was not considered, and that there was some agreement that they were supposed to get seats in Parliament, 2 seats based on how much was given. And then we saw when he made that pronouncement that some Indrani, or whatever is the young lady's name, is actually taken from the Anog support base, and a whole host of. So we were so careful in how we were dealing with the We Invest in Nationhood, how we were dealing with the people, and we knew that trust was a big issue. So when we heard that in Region 8, for example, they are not prepared to give us the vice chair, and we heard that our councillor did what she did to secure vice chair for herself and give her the span to represent with a broader resource base, we can't blame her for taking a position that secured her the seat that will give her a broader base to represent the people of Region 8. We can't blame her for that move. We know in Region 10 that there are at least 3 councillors that were not comfortable with Mark Gorin, and we believe solidly that those 3 councillors that did not want Mark Gorin from the We Invest in Nationhood, we believe solidly that they voted for Dominic Blair, and we further believe that the 3 PPP voted for Mark Gorin, that gave them the 9, and that's how come we got that tie with 9 and 9. And we know in Region 4 that the WIN removed themselves from participating. We know that they did not play this role of representing to ensure that there was this collaborative effort in Region 4 for us to get chair and vice chair. So I don't know what they're crying over spilt milk for.
And I mean, in relation to the Region 8, if our councillor had not taken that course of action, it would be fair to say that we would be in the same standoff that we were in, that we are in with Region 10.
Yeah.
In relation to that. So I mean, the idea seems childish for somebody who's a senior person within the current opposition as it is constituted to make such wild claims. So looking forward, Ganesh, since we know that there is a parliamentary allocation and Win holds the majority on the opposition side, what do you think that this RDC is showing towards what may possibly occur in Parliament, which is the highest decision-making body in the country? Are you comfortable as a person who has been selected and extracted to represent us in Parliament? Are you comfortable that the opposition under a Win umbrella or under the Win leadership will be able to properly navigate these kind of agreements and discussion that is required to ensure that we move as a cohesive unit?
Listen, trust is a fundamental issue in what transpired on Friday. Trust is a major issue. And then you see people like Odessa Primus, Tabitha Sarabu Hali and her husband carrying on at a rate on a program, spewing what I will consider misinformation and untruths. You see how they're attempting to target the PNCR and its membership. You see how they're trying to target the support base of the PNCR. It only breeds the conclusion that they seem to believe that they are going to go after the APNU and the PNCR. And we have a duty to protect who believe in us. We have a duty to inform those who believe in us, and we have a duty to represent those who believe in us. And we cannot allow a party to believe that they can simply come and want to push us over the rail and don't expect us to fight back. That's the
Correct.
first point I want to make. Secondly, as I said, we were in discussions long before Odessa Primus came on the scene concerning these very issues, and they knew where our position, they knew what were our positions and where we were heading in the direction of regions 4, 8, and 10. And even the meeting that was supposed to had, there was supposed to be a meeting between the two sides that never happened because of a communication breakdown. One believed that it should have been at this location, one said the other location. Apparently, they claimed to have found a common location. The common location was not communicated in time, and there was a breakdown of communication that caused the meeting to never happen. There was no attempt for us to even seek to have back the meeting. As I said, these things are known to several people, and there was the intention of ensuring that there was a coalition of opposition parties heading into the National Assembly to hold the People's Progressive Party accountable for especially the spending of taxpayers' money. We find ourselves in this predicament because of trust issues. I see, for example, I see the We Invest in Nationhood is pointing in a direction. I see they're labeling Azzuddin Mohammed as opposition leader elect. When you are something elect, it means you were elected and you're awaiting to be sworn in. He wasn't elected as yet. There's so many dynamics at play. An opposition leader is elected from among the non-governmental MPs.
Yes.
So all 29 opposition MPs stand a chance
Of being.
of being opposition leader.
It doesn't mean
It
because
doesn't
you're
mean that
part of the
no,
biggest
of
part of
course
it.
not.
Mm.
Of course not. And if there are two MPs, we invest in nationhood has 16. We have 12. Forward Guyana has 1. If the 12 of us decide to say, let us give Amanza the opportunity to be the opposition leader, it will be 12 with Amanza 1, 13, and all she will need is 2 other votes from the We Invest.
Mm.
And that will give her 15 votes, which is the majority of 29. And she can be the opposition leader. Or if we decide, let's say Tabitha Sarabu Hali to be opposition leader, and she is nominated, and she gets our 12 vote and Amanza's 1. That's 13. All she needs is 2 more, which one can be her and somebody else from Win. So how do you label yourself as opposition leader elect?
I think they must have went to that particular school of numbers by a particular politician whose name I wouldn't call. It seems like they were studying at that
I
college of
said
numbers.
they were doing what training of the MPs. But listen, it goes to show the foolishness of how they can open their mouth and spew things, and the gullible and vulnerable will easily fall into believing. But it is so much different. I heard at one time they're saying that they will give APNU nothing in the parliament. Nothing you will get in the parliament. That's what I heard some of the We Invest in Nationhood people saying. That on the committees, you will get no seat. We will take all. It does not work like that.
So clarify it for
it does not work like that. In committees of the National Assembly, that is done by way of a formula. The formula is applied based on the composition of the parliament. So PPP has 36 seats, Win has 16, we have 12, and Amanza has 1. If there is a committee of, let's say, 10 members, the total amount of members on a committee, let's use the committee of selection.
Mhm.
Committee of selection has to have 10 members. You calculate how many members you're entitled to as a party, and then you allocate. So it will be the 36. Let's do PPP.
Mm.
PPP will have 36 divided by 65, which is the total elected seats,
Mhm.
multiply by 100
100
over 1, and that will give you the percentage of ownership
of the committee.
that PPP has in the National Assembly.
Mhm.
So the percentage of ownership now is then put over 100 and multiplied by the 10 seats
Seats.
over 1 to see how many seats
Mm.
you will get.
Correct.
And in those calculations, where there is a 10-seat committee, PPP will get 6 seats. We Invest in Nationhood will get 2, and APNU will get 2. And that's how you get the 10-seat committee. So We Invest in Nationhood doesn't have to decide how many seats APNU get. In 9-member committees, like, for example, the Economic Service Committee or the Standing Orders Committee or the Public Accounts Committee,
Mhm.
those are 9 members committee. 9 members committee, the same formula applies. The PPP is going to get 5, the APNU is going to get 2, and We Invest in Nationhood is going to get 2. The only committee, by virtue of standing order, that the We Invest of Nationhood will have the chairmanship of is the Public Accounts Committee, because the standing order says it comes from the main opposition.
Yeah.
But they don't decide what we get in the parliamentary committee. And that's why I had to say to them that they seem to lack the knowledge of understanding. They have 3 people who served as members of parliament
Mhm.
with us sitting there, and they seem not to give them the advice that they need.
So what
Beyond
is-
that,
All right. Go ahead.
beyond that is the fact that when it comes to speaking in the National Assembly, I hear some people saying that they will shut out the APNU, that they will shut out the APNU. There's no shutting out of the APNU. If there cannot be an agreement between the sides,
Mm.
the standing orders kick in.
Mm.
And the speaker is guided by the standing order. The only time you give relaxation to the standing order is when there's a mutual agreement between the government and the opposition.
Mm.
And there is where the chief whips come into play.
Correct.
The government will have a chief whip, the opposition will have a chief whip. Obviously, We Invest in Nationhood, because of their number, will have the chief whip. But their chief whip doesn't function on what 16 says. It has to function on what 29 says, because 29 is the opposition.
Correct.
And if 12, that is us, don't find favor with certain things that they're doing with their 16, we will therefore call for us to go to the standing orders.
Correct.
And the standing orders give way. Whomever is on their feet and catches the eye of the speaker has the authority to speak, once blessed by the speaker.
Correct.
And the speaking time is also documented in the standing order. You have noticed in previous elections, in previous parliaments, that persons will speak for 30 minutes plus 5 or 15 minutes plus 5. Those are not recorded in standing orders, you know.
Mhm.
That is mutual agreement between opposition and government.
Mm.
And if you can't have that, then you move to the
The
standing order,
orders.
which speaks to 30 plus 15, I think it is. The standing order documents everything should there be disagreement on the floor between the whips. The whips are intended to make the work of the speaker easier.
Mhm.
It is supposed to make the work of the parliament easier. It is supposed to make the functioning smoothly.
So
But if you have disagreement,
correct.
the standing orders kick in. So this notion that We Invest in Nationhood seems to believe that with 16 they're the big bad bully,
Mhm.
then they're coming to a place where they should familiarize themselves
Correct.
before attempting to make statements that are baseless, useless, and without any merit.
And what we see, picking up on that point you just made, is a case whereby there is clear misinformation being perpetuated by this faction of the opposition. And from my understanding, misinformation works with two ways. Either there is a deliberate intent to mislead the people of Guyana in this case, or there is ignorance. And I mean, from where I'm seated, it seems to be a mixture of both. I was listening to Comrade Sharma Solomon in his little piece, and he made a mention that, where there is misinformation, the only people who really suffer is the persons who have a desire to learn. And if this is the tone on which we invest in nationhood is attempting to declare their political stake, then do you think that this particular behavior and attitude that we see coming out of this camp, do you think that that is sustainable for the next 5 years?
No, it is not going to be valuable to the electorate. It is not going to be valuable to the people who are anti-PPP. It is not going to assist the country in having a formidable opposition to hold government accountable. And that is why we invest in nationhood has to recognize that they need to be equipped with the necessary information before they pronounce on matter and seek cheap political points. Unfortunately, social media, which plays a very major role in today's politics, find entertainment in these kind of behaviors, and they will get the viewership and the likes and so on. But all it does is expose their degree of ignorance on the matter, and what they should seek to do is educate themselves, familiarize themselves with the nuances of the workings of the parliament and so on, and then seek to make pronouncement. Don't seek to mislead and misguide, because
or even try to leverage and threaten in some instances.
Well, they're leveraging and threatening the APNU because they have 16 and they feel that 16 is a far way more superior number.
But we would guide them to the standing order
than 12. But then they need to recognize that the 12 has been in the game long. Correct. And the 12 comes with the experience and knowledge. Correct. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have that. They will learn it just as we would have learned it too. But what they need to do is recognize that the attempt to mislead and misguide is only exposing what they seem to have as their game plan. And that is they're attempting to attack us. They're attempting to say that we are the enemy and we're the bad ones, when the fight is supposed to be against the People's Progressive Party.
Correct.
The fight is never supposed to be against the APNU, and we did not initiate any fight against you. We did not initiate any fight against Win. Win initiated a fight against us. And it's only going to be foolish on our part to take a lash and don't get up and lash back.
Correct.
But I want them to know that we are still extending the hand of collaboration and cooperation and
because
consultation.
We have Guyanese people that
we are still opening and extending that hand because we believe a formidable opposition is what is needed. We believe that we have to tackle the People's Progressive Party in a way of achieving maximum benefit to do it together. So not because what transpired there means that, doors are shut. Doors are never shut in politics. Doors can never be shut in politics. And we invest in nationhood, has 16 seats. Can't run from that. But our 12 is equally as important.
Correct.
And they must not believe that we will sit and take idle their threats and comments.
And winding down and coming to the conclusion of our discussions, I would like you to take a few minutes to address our supporters and the people of Guyana by extension who are victim of this misinformation. And I would like you to give them a charge in moving forward, because I'm sure you, just like I, would have received a lot of negative feedback coming from especially from our base with their concerns of these allegations. So to speak to the misinformation, I just want you to give a charge to the Guyanese and our core supporters.
Well, let me start off by speaking directly to our core supporters. We remain your servants. We have been your servant for decades. We have continued to work hard for your interest to be well represented. And we want you to know that the misinformation being peddled out there, claiming that there is some alliance with the People's Progressive Party, is false. It is not true, and I'm begging you not to believe that nonsense. Clearly, what has transpired over the last 2 days have some rippling effects on the people who are affected most by it, and that is the reinvest in nationhood. And they seem to believe that you are gullible and you will lean towards them for guidance and guarantee. But that Anod spoke about how they were treated by reinvesting nationhood, and we simply sought to protect ourselves by ensuring that in region number 10 we make a nomination for the seat, and we know we enjoyed 3 votes from the reinvesting nationhood because they never wanted to support Mark Gorin in the first place as chairman of Region 10. In Region 8, as I pointed out, the reinvested nation who did not want to give us the vice chairman, as was reported to us. And our candidate, our councillor on the ground, made an informed decision to secure the vice chairmanship for herself, thus broadening her scope to represent the people of Region 8. In Region 4, it was most unfortunate what transpired there, especially on the basis of a complete withdrawal of hold steadfast with the APNU. We will continue to be in your communities. We will continue to reach out. We will continue to have dialogue. You are well informed about our various visits. And if you are not, you can obviously make communication with any one of us. We are open to you. But together, we have to take what is ours for our people as we move forward in pushing our agenda, and it is all about putting you first. That is what we campaigned on. That is what we will champion, and that is what we will hold firm on. As you see in the political sphere of things, there are several accusations against people who are associated with WIN, and there are several who are associated with the People's Progressive Party. The lean, clean, and green party before you is the APNU, and we will continue to represent and represent well. Do not be distracted by misinformation. Do not be distracted by false information, and keep yourself informed with the truth. Don't fall prey for comedy or any comedian that seems to believe that they know it best. Thank you.
Ganesh, on behalf of the party and myself, I thank you for putting the record straight. I think the people of Guyana and our supporters have been able to benefit from your clarification. And moving forward, we will continue to do that. And in closing, I would also like to add my 2 cents to the people of Guyana and our supporters that we remain a steadfast and a power to behold within the political landscape. And in whatever way and form and fashion that we can continue to serve, we will continue to serve. I'd also like to take this time to give a special recognition to our team of MPs, Mr. Terence Campbell, Shera Duncan, Mr. Saiku Andrews, our party members, Mr. Hoyt, Delon Carter, Miss Coretta McDonald, and I'm mentioning, oh, and also Dr. Dexter Todd. And I'm mentioning these individuals because over the last 2 weeks, we have been out in the communities, and I'll just give you a few names of communities that we've touched. We've been in Arbaistown, we've been in North Rumvelt Festival City, we've been in West Rumvelt, we've been in Tugville, we've been in South Rumvelt, Diamond, Golden Grove, Caneville, Better Hope, Sophia Seafield, and East Rumvelt. And this is just the beginning of the work that we will continue to do. So a special salute to our team on the ground who has been interacting with our party members and with the people of Guyana. And we will remain steadfast and we will remain committed to putting you people first. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Eden Corbin. The day is October 12th, 2025, and you were here on Nation Watch. Thank you for tuning with us, and do tune in next week.